up, everybody? Happy Friday to you. This is the Family Room. Welcome you guys to the Family Room. We're excited about being here with you today. As you guys know, every Friday we come together and we talk about subjects that we think are relevant and that we hope will be an uplift to you and encouragement to you as you go throughout the course of the week.
Yes, thank God it's Friday. Welcome to the Family Room. As you start to log on and become a part of the conversation, make sure you tag someone or share. My name is First Lady Alicia Ramsey, and this is my husband, Pastor John F. Ramsey Sr., and it is always a blessing to be able to spend time with you on Friday afternoon.
Absolutely. We've been doing the Family Room ever since COVID first started shutting everything down. So we've been doing it about 13 months or so. And we look at it as an opportunity to connect with the members and those of you that are not members, but like being a part of the ministry. Every Friday, it's really the only platform we have right now at the moment where you can ask questions, get feedback, and on whatever the subject matter is. So today we're going to be moving around. It's Flow With Me Friday. So we're going to just kind of move around on some subjects, and then we'll land on some other things and kind of develop them as we go.
Yeah, so kind of talk about what you got going on as we're waiting for people to kind of log on.
Yes, what we have going on, the book, Money Before Marriage. You can get the book. It's our latest book, and you can get it on Amazon.com. You can get it on Kindle. You can also get it on audiobook, and that's the thing that's so big right now. So this is the first book that I've done that we've made an audio version of it. But you can get a copy of that as well when you go to Amazon or any other platforms that you can download it on and be blessed by it. But we definitely believe it's a huge topic that is so critical before you get married and even after you're married. There are tools on there that will help people before marriage and even after marriage. So I really believe the book is great for everyone. So make sure you get it. If you already have it, you read it, you like it, go to Amazon and do a review for us, please, because reviews make a big impact on people that go there and checking out that material. It'll be a great impact with them. So thank you so much. Hope you do it. Hope you're blessed.
What do you have going on your Facebook page?
Facebook
and your
page.
YouTube page and kind of what you got going?
YouTube. One of the things I've been doing with YouTube, I really like YouTube as a platform. And one of the things that we're doing now is we're going back and we're starting to upload. There used to be a time where people bought CDs and tapes and all types of things to be able to hear the message. Now, you don't have to spend that money because you can hear it for free when you go on streaming or if you go back to listen to it. So one of the things that we've been doing is Jeremiah's been doing a great job helping me with that, giving us messages where it's just the message itself, and I'm uploading those onto the YouTube page. You can go back and watch those anytime you want. In addition to, you can watch Family Room live every Friday on YouTube page. So make sure you check that out, subscribe to that. And we're always uploading different types of content, sometimes daddy-daughter moments with Judah. We got one of those coming up. We haven't done that in a while. Then other times, just ministry of the word as well as the Family Rooms on Friday.
Right. So it's good because we talk all the time about telling people that faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. And a lot of times you could just go to his YouTube channel and just play one of the past messages while you're, cooking dinner, while you're doing other things, just to hear the word. Because like you said, we don't really do CDs anymore and DVDs. So that's a good way for you to have access to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we hope everybody's doing well. As you guys are coming in, make sure you holler at us. I see you there, LaTanya, see you in the house. As you guys come in, give us a thumbs up, give us a quick shout out. Let us know that you're in the house. And we're going to start flowing in just a little while because it's Flow With Me Friday. So we're going to talk about some subjects that as we just come off the conference, we're going to talk about that a little bit, and then we'll kind of zero in on some other topics.
Oh, definitely. Looking forward to the conversation. Good afternoon, Latoya. Good afternoon, Lauren. Good to see you, Jamil. Good to see you, Nicole. Good afternoon, Shania, Jackie, and Marvin, of course. Lagathia. So Minister Lou. Maya, lots of people that
Mr. Lou's in the house.
Yes, lots of people that are on the thread today and ready to here on Flow With It Friday. And remember, at any time, you could be a part of the conversation. Just put your comment or question in the thread.
Yes.
And we'll do our best to make it a part.
Absolutely. That's something that we get a lot of joy out of, sharing with you guys and being able to respond to your questions. So, because it's so important. But one of the things we're going to talk about today on Flow With Me Friday is we're going to talk a little bit about the conference.
Yes.
And some of the speakers that we had, some of the people that were a part of it. Some of the learning lab, that was our doorbell that just rung. Some of our learning lab sessions, we're going to talk about some of those and really just kind of highlight some things that really jumped out to us at the conference. Of course, we were very, very excited this year that we were able to do it and that we had that opportunity and that so many people came along and really partnered with us, registered for the conference, became a part of it. We had tremendous, tremendous numbers. I think our last registration that I was aware of, I think we were somewhere around between 600 and close to 700 registrations, which is absolutely amazing. And we look forward to much of the same as we go forward. Next year, we don't know yet. At this point in time, with COVID-19, we don't know whether it will be an event that will be live or whether it will be virtual. I do know that our international conference this summer with Bishop Walker is going to be it's going to be virtual, and so you're going to be able to register just like you did for the Marriage and Family Conference, and you'll have opportunity for all of those platforms. Except it's going to be an incredible amount of speakers, an amazing amount of learning labs, and so it's going to be a blessing. But it's going to be virtual. One of the things that we kind of been talking about is that as people get ready to go, as we're opening up the doors and people are coming back into the church and so forth. I've heard so many people say, man, I just can't wait till everything is back to normal. But what I really believe is that there's going to be a new normal. I think there's going to be a new normal with how we do conferences, because when you do them virtually, people don't have to buy airplane tickets, hotels, things of that nature. So I think what you're going to see in the body of Christ moving forward, you're going to see a combination of both. You're going to see live events, but then you're going to see a significant amount of the audience that's virtual, because we're going to try to make it available in both formats.
I believe that too. And you're hearing that from pastors and bishops all over the country, aren't you? All
over the country. I'm hearing people say the very same thing. Even with our membership, I'm believing that our leaders and many of the people need to be back in the house. But at the same time, because of COVID, we can't force your hand. We can't do anything that was try to put pressure on you all to be there. But if you're a child of God, you should want to be in the house. But I'm also wise enough to understand that it's going to be a little at a time as people are getting more, just more at peace with the whole thing with COVID and vaccinations and so on and so forth. I think it'll be a little at a time.
And adjust in every area in life. So you need to make sure that you do what is best for you and your family, but slowly start making those, adjustments.
Exactly. Because what you don't want to do is just stay home out of convenience, that you don't have to get dressed. You don't have to put on makeup. You don't have to put on suits or whatever it is that you wear when you come out to church. Don't do it out of convenience. And obviously you and God know what your convictions are as it relates to why you are choosing to stay at home. The Bible says, forsake not the fellowship of the assembly of yourself together. And I know that a lot of people will argue, well, I'm not forsaking it because I'm streaming. Okay, all that's fine. At the end of the day, we got to get back to the house eventually. Yeah. But we also respect the fact that it may not be as quickly as we think.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. We are having Flow With It Friday. We're going to share, some highlights from the Family and Marriage Conference that Pastor Ramsey and I hosted for Full Gospel Baptist Fellowship. And I am really excited about the opportunity to go back and watch again. There was a couple that I really enjoyed, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go back and listen to those again to see if there was something I missed out on. Many that are on the thread, they were part of the virtual conference. When you think about a couple of points for yourself that conference spoke to you in a certain area, what would you say that would be?
I would say one of those would be Bishop Walker and Dr. Stephanie's session, as well as Bishop Kim Brown. Really, I don't think there was a session that I didn't get blessed with, but some of the ones that jump out to me in particular is going to be Bishop Walker and Dr. Lady Stephanie. And as they talk about balance.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. What are like some points that you can share with them that from the conference as a whole that you took these points, and what would you share with us?
I would share what, as it relates to that particular general session, it would just be
as a whole. You don't even have to pick a session, just as a whole. Like if you think about, this is something that I learned from the conference, this is something that stuck with me.
I think I learned a lot of things. One of the many things I think I learned is just the importance of being intentional in planning your family's long-term success. You know, I picked that up from Bishop Kim Brown and his wife and their daughter, and their session was excellent. And I think the thing that jumped out to me about that particular subject, as many others, is that how intentional they were about every strategic move for each one of their children, understanding that all of them are going to have a different path, a different journey with God, but yet all of them have a destiny, and how they were able to use, wisdom, God's leading, as well as the quality of their relationship with their kids to help them tap into that and find what that purpose was for their life. I think that is so big because so many people struggle with that.
Yeah, it blew my mind, when she said at the end of every year, they sit down and go over financials with their children. They have their children bring their financial statements for the year, and they talk about, what was their financial gains. And so the kids are used to it. So their kids are adults. Their daughter's 31, their son's like mid-30s, and they bring the financial report to their parents and talk about that. I thought that was powerful.
I thought it was huge because when you think about it, they built into their system as a family an accountability system for everybody.
That's good. How many families have accountability?
Not many. Not many, especially when you start talking about parents with their adult children. Because so many people, a lot of time, they're waiting for that child to get out, and that child's waiting to get out, and then that's pretty much it. But the way that they're intentional about that, it just shows you the quality of the relationship.
Dolores, it's open. You can come whenever you want to come. We're not saying you have to wait anymore, because look, she asked the questions. If on Saturday evening there's 25 seats open, can I register if I've been already? Yes,
you can. We're not doing that anymore because there were some people that didn't take advantage of that. So we want people to be able to fill the seats up to whatever that number is at that particular time. So no, you can come every single Sunday if you want to. And we hope to see you in the house.
So we having Flow With It Friday, and Pastor and I were just sharing with you some areas we were ministered to. So we just came off of the Family and Marriage Conference, and we wanted to share with you some things that we've learned, and maybe you can glean from what we have learned as well.
And what were some things that jumped out to you?
Outside of that, what I shared about the accountability for your adult children, I also was blessed by just hearing how Bishop, Walker, the presiding bishop, and Dr. Stephanie, how this is what they said that I thought was powerful. They planned their family vacation first. And then they planned everything else around that. I was mad convicted.
Me too.
I was mad convicted because we planned all church stuff first and kids, school stuff. Then we try to fit in vacation.
And that's going to change.
And
that's going to change real soon. But it's amazing that the things that aren't necessarily deep, but are just extremely practical, that hit you right between the eyes. And you're like, man, I got to look at that. I got to work on that. I got to kind of deal with that a little bit more. And I just think that's powerful.
Because we are trying to get better at planning our rest time. Because even if we don't go somewhere, still planning that time to take a break from, all the hectic things that go on in life. And as parents, even if you're empty nester, you still got to plan that time with your spouse. You still got to plan that time with your family, and you have to be intentional about it.
You really do, because if you're not intentional about it, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
If you're not intentional about it, that means you're not making it a priority. If it's not a priority, it's not going to happen. And I I've heard other people say that. I've heard that one or two other times where they talked about that they set their family time, that everything else around that. I've heard that maybe one other time, but it really just kind of jumped out to us because that's something that we still have not set in stone with our family. And that's something that we're going to do that with.
Because don't you feel as if you can get lazy in that area of planning those extra things, or you can get, like right now, there's so many protocol steps to, go through for things that people just be like, oh, we won't do anything.
Exactly.
And I think as a community, even as people, we're getting like, oh, it's too much work to do that. Oh, it's too much work to do that. So you just stay home and you don't do anything.
Right. And I think you have to be intentional about it, and you got to be willing to put forth the effort, and I think sometimes people are so tired from working, taking care of their bills, their obligations, their kids, their ministry, whatever else that they got going on, their schooling, whatever they got going on, that by the time they get a chance to kind of breathe, they're just like, forget it.
Right.
And they don't always go through all the steps to really make things happen. But I definitely think that that's something that we're going to work harder at, and just and making sure that we're intentional. And that we fit things around the family, not fit the family around all the things.
That's a good way to put it. That was my word for this year on my vision board, was intentional. And being intentional, and even be intentional about contacting your family. Okay. I know sometimes, I'm going to give my cousin a call. I'm going to give my sister a call. I'm going to give my mom a call. And then you get busy.
Right.
When you really should, even if you have to put it in your calendar, call my sister today, call my mom today, check on my second cousin, see how they're doing, so you don't forget to do that. Remind yourself of how important it is right now to, if 2020 didn't teach us nothing else, don't you think it taught us to be intentional about relationships?
I think it should have taught us.
Yeah.
But I think the jury's out on whether it did teach us, because it's all that's going to be dependent upon how much people are willing to change and be more intentional about those things that you're talking about. Yeah. Even things as simple as reaching out to, whether it be your mom, your aunt, whoever it is that that's in your family, a sibling or whatever that you got a good relationship with, and making sure that you cultivate that. Because one thing I've learned is that, and I think the conference just really kind of drove this home even more, is that sometimes we make it too easy for us to make excuses for things.
Absolutely.
Versus being intentional, putting forth the effort, putting forth the sweat equity, and really just making things happen that we know is going to benefit the family.
We make excuses all the time. We definitely make excuses. And one thing I used to say that I have to remind myself of, I would always tell myself, I don't want to wait until somebody dies to get everybody together, to talk to everybody, to be a part. Why do we have to wait till Christmas to have a family Zoom call? Right. Sometimes we wait until you have to talk to everyone to talk to everyone.
And we wait until it's the wrong context as well.
Right.
Then you're trying to scramble and redevelop relationships as well as deal with whatever crisis is at hand.
Right. You only call people to give condolences, or you only call people when there's a crisis or a problem. Right.
So, I mean, that's something that we all have to work on. I think that one of the aspects of marriage as well as family, and that goes right back to the conference, is that I think it's about being intentional in everything that we do. Whether intentionality means that you're pursuing a doctorate degree, you're pursuing a master's degree, you're pursuing something. I think one of the things that couples have to do is make sure that whatever you are pursuing, that your spouse is in agreement with. Yes. Because if your spouse is not in agreement with it, then somebody's missing God.
Yes.
And it may not be necessarily that you're missing God in terms of what the thing is that you're going to pursue, but it might be that you're missing God in terms of the timing of when you pursue it, because there's no agreement in the relationship about it.
And learn to come to a consensus or a compromise. You even have to learn to come to a consensus and compromise with your children. I was just talking to someone the other day, and they were saying, well, I don't do this because my husband doesn't like this. And I said, well, what's the compromise? And they said, there isn't one. I said, I'm telling you, if you keep doing that, eventually you're going to get fed up. And that's not fair. You have to both have this conversation to say, all right, you don't like this, I don't like this. How are we going to compromise this?
Exactly.
And you know what it is? It is not anything sinful. What it is, it was a preference.
Right.
So this is something that he prefers. This is something she prefers. So how do we come to a compromise on that?
Exactly. Because if you don't come to a compromise, eventually what happens is somebody's going to build up resentment.
Absolutely.
And when the resentment gets to a certain level, it's going to blow. And when it blows, it has a tendency to taint things that aren't necessarily stained. It has a tendency to affect other areas that really were okay. But because you suppress it so long that when that thing blows, you allow it to just affect everything in a negative perspective versus being able to talk about it and work through it.
Yes, that reminds me of the workshop, Two Goals Under One Roof, with Pastor Jathan and Pastor Beverly, his wife. And they were talking about how they both had these goals in life and how they were trying to get to these goals together under one roof.
Right.
And the compromises they had to make and the conversations they had, the hard conversations they had to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that happens. That happens in marriage, because I think so many times in marriage that we get in trouble, we have challenges that are not necessary because we assume things about each other as spouses.
Yes.
And when we assume those, a lot of times we're wrong. A lot of times we might not be accurate about that. So being able to have that conversation about, okay, let's bring everything together in agreement, and let's allow God's hand to really be upon what we're doing. And one of the ways we know his hand is upon it is if we can agree upon it.
If we can agree upon it and take your time to get to that point.
Absolutely.
Like, it may not happen in the first conversation. Don't you think that happens too? Like, okay, he didn't see my thoughts in the first conversation, so you don't have the conversation anymore. No, we're going to keep having a conversation.
Yeah, you just bury the conversation and they, well, forget it, But the reality is when you're saying forget it, you're already upset about it. So again, it's going to come back one way or another. Your approach is just going to determine whether that it comes back positively or negatively, but it's going to come back. And so being able to say, okay, well, you know what? It didn't work well that time. We talked about this. Let's try coming at it from this approach, but we got to get through the subject.
I also feel you need to do that in partnerships. So if you're going into business with someone, you have to know how to compromise.
Yeah.
In business with someone, like, okay, this is their dream for it and goals for it. This is your goal for it. How do we bring this together the right way?
Yeah.
How do we partner together the right way? How do we invest? You may be married and, you and your husband are starting a business together. Is this 50-50?
Right.
Is it 70-30?
Right.
Don't just dive into the business and you haven't determined the roles in the business.
Exactly. I mean, you have to determine roles before you even launch the business, because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for failure. You got to know, okay, what is this person good at? What are they going to be able to do that's going to make this business succeed? What is she going to be able to do, or he's going to be able to do? And then are we on the same page about it? And then when you get done with all of that, you got to take it to the next level by writing it down. Because until you put it on paper, it really doesn't exist. You can talk about something all day long, but you need to write that down. And that's what God told Habakkuk. He said, write the vision down, that he that readeth it might run with it. In other words, that when the vision is organized, people can read it, they can run with it, and good things can happen as a result of it.
Yeah, I think, I know that's where Bishop Brister and his wife, Lady Brister, they did a very good job sharing the how they blended their family. Yeah. And how all of a sudden they were put in this situation and how they had to, compromise, work together, have a plan to blend their family together. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they've done it so well that I didn't even know that it was blended until just recently, I think this past year. And so that's when we, talked to them about becoming a part of this conference and doing one of these sessions. But that's when I think it's successful, when other people from the outside don't even know that your family is blended. That means you're doing something right. That's good. Connie makes a good comment. She says, yes, be intentional and not take anything for granted. Shani says, I know I have to put it right in my calendar to remind me to call and check on people. Intentional. So a lot of people were able to relate to what you were talking about and how to be intentional in relationships. And maybe that's one of the reasons why you kind of had that theme, home improvement, and talked about the modern day family. Yeah. Yeah. Because, the modern day family has so many different angles to it. Next year, all goes well, there's some exciting things that I want to be intentional about making a part of this conference, because when you talk about the word family nowadays, it is more diverse than it has ever been before. Yes. Family could mean a single mother of 2 kids. Family could mean a single father of 3 kids. Yes. It can mean so many different things. And that's one reason why I was excited, because I think we did a pretty good job in putting together a game plan
of trying to hit almost every area we could.
Yes.
With trying to make sure that we're giving relevant information for whatever situation somebody might be going through. And obviously you can't get them all, but I think we tried to do the best we could with that. And we already have ideas for next year. So we're writing things down, getting things on paper, and I think we'll be able to be a little bit more accurate about it even next year.
Yeah, and understanding family looks different.
Mm-hmm. And being okay with it.
And being okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You have people raising children that are not their children, but
Mm-hmm.
they say that's their family. You know, this is my son, this is my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have people that it's the grandmother and the mother and a stepmother. Like, you have so many different components of what makes family.
Exactly.
Be sensitive to that.
Absolutely.
And understand that. And
Yeah.
also, if you are single and you are, you know, dating someone, make sure you look at the whole family structure.
Yes.
You know, this person may be divorced and they had a child and a stepchild with someone. They may still be close to the child and the stepchild, and you start dating them, say, well, but that's not your biological. Why you? No, they help raise that child.
Mm-hmm.
They see that child as their child.
Right.
You have to be able to embrace both of those children.
And I think that's why you bring all of that into the conversation early on in the relationship. That way, if there's any bagging out, now's a good time to do it. Mm-hmm. Because this child's going to be a part of my life, or I'm going to be a part of this person's life, or maybe my wife and I got divorced, but maybe I still have a great relationship with her mother.
Right.
And we still meet for coffee or whatever the case might be. So it looks different. But we got to be all right with that. And we have to still be so intentional about things. I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you're honest and that you put things on the table early on in the relationship. Now, early on doesn't mean that you just necessarily have to put everything out there, but it means that you do need to be honest about certain things that you know that have the tendency that they have the ability to come back and maybe hurt the relationship later on because you're not being honest about that right now.
And be honest on what you can handle and what you can't handle.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting how you and I can see what type of personality will fit best with our son. You know, when it's time for him to marry, we can see what type of spouse he will need. But watching him figure that out,
right?
What type of spouse he would need, you know, in order for him to be equally yoked in every area of his life. And that is the thing for you and I think we, you know, we were pretty aware of what we needed in a spouse. Don't you think?
I definitely think so. You know, we both certainly knew what we didn't need. And I think that's half of the challenge right there. But I think we both were very intentional about what we felt like we individually needed from someone when we first met. And I think you and I both were checking boxes. You know, as we got to know each other, okay, we're checking that box, check that box, check that box. And obviously nobody's perfect, but you understand what we're saying. We're saying that it's not about agreeing on absolutely everything, but it's about agreeing on everything that is important and significant to the success of the relationship.
Yes, everything that is important. You know, we've seen people, they didn't have the conversation about kids. So one wants to have 2 or 3 kids, and the one says, I only want one child. I only want one. And it's like, you didn't even have those conversations before you got married.
Exactly. And, you know, marriage is a classroom, but you do have to be willing to go to school and learn from different things. But there are certain things that I really feel like you can't afford to not talk about ahead of time.
Yes.
And some of those things are your personal preferences and goals.
Yes.
Finances, family, what your desire is, what you see happening for a family that you plan on having for the future versus what the other one does. How they were raised as versus how you were raised, and can there be a really good compromise? I mean, there's so many different things to talk about that are significant, and many times people don't always talk about the important things.
You have to talk about death. They'll
talk about everything.
Do you want to be cremated?
Yeah.
Do you want a funeral? Like,
right. You want to be an organ donor. I mean,
right. You
a
have
little
to
bit
take
of
a
everything.
living will. What do you want? Do you want the plug pull? Do you want the person to wait until, like, you have to have those conversations.
And, you know, and it may sound weird to people, but we, you know, we've been married for 25 years now, but we do talk about all that. We talk about all of that. So there's almost any scenario that could happen in life, I know what she would want. and vice versa. She knows what I would want.
Right.
So a sibling or somebody else in my family can't be running, well, he would have wanted, no, this is what he wanted.
And they will try to do that.
They will try to do that all day long. Well, we got it on paper. We got what she wants on paper. We got what I want on paper. So there's no argument with that, so that we're in agreement, even in agreement as to what will happen if something were to happen to me or if something were to happen to her.
That you have to have those conversations even with your siblings, even when you don't want to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Well, we need to keep mama alive. And then the one with the power of attorney says, mama didn't want to be kept alive. It's right here on the paperwork. We've had this discussion. Well, I didn't know. Well, I'm telling you, here it is.
Right.
We had the discussion.
And that was one of the things I felt like was so important for me with my mother. And mom was saying, well, John, I don't need a will. I don't really have anything. I said, Mom, sometimes a will is not about what you have. It's about what you want.
Yes.
That way, I don't have to wrestle with anybody over what you would have wanted, because everybody's literate. Everybody can read it. Everybody can see it. And then there's some level of agreement while you're trying to navigate things through versus trying to deal with all this and then how to try to fight your kids at the same time.
Right. And modern day families. So it may be you have to have a conversation, with your stepfather. And you have to have a conversation with your stepmother, or you have to sit down with your father and your stepmother and say, okay, we need to have this conversation, Dad, if something happens to you, how you want this to look, because stepmom may have one idea. You as the child may have another idea.
Right.
Wait, sometimes we wait until somebody's on their deathbed to have that conversation of these as a family. Be intentional. Right.
Be intentional about it. But also, in addition to that, have a plan. I think the parents, let's say it's our parents, let's say it's your mom, or my mother's gone now, but that it's a parent. That parent owes it to those adult children for all of them to know what they want and what their wishes are, versus leave that on somebody else to communicate to all of them when that moment comes.
Yes.
They need to have communicated all of that. There's something else that you got to think about. Something else you got to think about is, okay, let's say you got 3 kids and you're going to pass away at some point. And when you pass away, there's going to be $100,000 of life insurance. And so they take care of your funeral and everything. Okay, what do you want to happen with that other 75 or 70 or whatever it is? What do you want to see happen? Well, if one of the kids is on drugs, do you really want to give them 25 grand?
Right.
Or do you want that going in a trust somewhere for when they clean that part of their life up, there's something there to help support them and help them get back going where they need to go? All of these are things that you got to think about.
You have to, and as a community that is growing and we want to do things differently, we have to start preparing for our future. Today is Flow With It Friday. Pastor Ramsey and I are going over some highlights from the Marriage and Family Conference and talking about some things that we learned as a married couple and some things that we learned as individuals. What is something else that stands out to you from the conference? Yeah, there's a lot of things. I think you hit a key one a little while ago, which was 2 goals under one roof, because I think that just affects so many people. Another one I thought was Bishop Guy Robinson, knowing when it's time to get help. Yes, that was good. That was a workshop, and it really dealt with your mental health and psychological health, and knowing when it's time to actually get help. And I think that for so long, in particular in our culture, it was looked at as if you need to get some help, okay, well, you don't have faith, or you don't trust God, or you're just weak, or just whatever the situation might be. But really, when you get to a certain point in mental health that you become challenged by something that you're unable to handle, it's wisdom to get help. And helping people see that sometimes can be difficult. What is that? Especially with Christians, they're like anti-therapy, anti-psychiatrists, psychologists, and they're all different. Yeah. There's a difference between them. You need to know which one you need and when you need it. Exactly. Because that's halfway of having success. I mean, you're halfway home to having success when you can know when you need something. And sometimes people wait until the signs are too glaring. Right. Grief counseling is so important. If you lost a loved one, you think about this here recently. King Elizabeth just lost, Prince Philip just died. Okay. He was 90 something. She's 95, just turned 95. They've been married over 70 years. Incredible. 73 years. Over 70 years, he has
Yeah.
been by her side.
Mhm.
What does the world look like now for her?
Oh, it's totally different.
It's totally different. So, you
Mhm.
know, people that have been married 50 years, 40 years, 20, and they suddenly lose their spouse. They're going to need some support.
Yeah,
They're going to need to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Don't you feel that's the
I
case?
feel that totally, because the game completely changes. I mean, you go from, like, we've been married for 25 years.
Yes.
If something were to happen to either one of us, I mean, it's going to be mind-boggling for the other one.
It is.
You don't just go 25 years and then somebody's not here and you're like, okay, well, cool. Let me go ahead and just do this and do that and move my life ahead. It sounds good in theory, but it just doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. And raising our children, like
Mhm.
our children are used to both their parents. I would have to get help for, all of our children.
Yeah.
In addition to myself, get
Mhm.
help for our children, because our
Me too.
family would look different, it would function different, and they would need support for
Right.
that. There are support groups out there. Why is it that, especially African Americans, you feel like you don't need to be a part of a support group? I
think part of it is pride and arrogance.
That's good.
And I don't really know how you can call it anything else.
It's good.
I mean, it's possible that if my dad would have got help, it's possible that he would have had another 20 years, maybe 25 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
You just don't know. And so I'm a big time advocate of that, of knowing when it's time to get help. And then sometimes your family can be a great indicator for you of when it's time for you to get help, because sometimes you don't think you're doing the damage to your family that you actually are. It can be with an attitude. It can be with just absolutely no patience. It can be with a lot of different things, and you don't realize you're snapping everybody's head off. You don't realize that there's a lot of different ways stress can manifest itself. And it's just important that we all understand and know now that there comes a time where you got to reach out. It becomes unhealthy for you to not reach out, because what happens is not only do you suffer, but you're forcing everybody in that house with you to suffer when they shouldn't have to, if you would get the proper amount of help.
Definitely. Stop calling people crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get rid of that vocabulary and let's start looking at what support do they need. African American women can have postpartum depression too.
Mm-hmm.
You go to your doctor. When you go for your checkups, be honest. Be honest and say, I've been crying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've been struggling, with feeling joyful.
Right.
I snap at my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I have difficulty communicating how I feel. You have to share all of these things. And when you share these things with your primary physician, they'll say, okay, I think you need to talk to someone, or I think, and then the first thing we like, oh no, I don't need to talk to nobody. Yes, you do need to talk to someone, because you want to be the best you.
And I think I'm a good example of that, because there were times where, where I'm dealing with different things, ministry wise or whatever wise, where I didn't realize where there's sometimes I'm a little bit irritable. Sometimes I'm just not patient. I'm just not whatever, and, I'm thinking everything cool. Then you look around, everybody looking at you like you got 3 heads, and you realize, what, I got to reevaluate how I deal with this stuff.
But it's a difficult occupation that you have, and the mantle that is on your life. I mean, just look at over the last 5 years, the pastors that have, committed suicide, that have quit, that
1,500 churches a month close. Close. And there's a significant number of pastors' wives who wish their spouses would quit the ministry. Yeah. I mean, all these are I talked about that a little bit in my message at the beginning of the conference for the general session. And all those are very, very real stats. They're very, very real.
And I feel as if a lot of that could be avoided if help was sought. If people, if the pastor went and said, hey, I need some help, or, if the pastor's wife would say, I need to talk to someone, and we're so prideful. What happens in our house stays in our house. And we don't, these people have confidentiality agreements when you go to a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or, even a spiritual counseling. They cannot share that information with other people.
Well, it's funny because, there used to be people at the church that didn't come in to get counseling when I was giving counsel, because they thought, they didn't want the pastor to know their business. That would be the thing. They don't want the pastor to know. Well, I'm going to know the business eventually, because more than likely y'all ain't going to be together. Y'all keep going down this road. But it was so funny because when they would finally come in, I would take the first 5 minutes or so to share with them how this thing works, when you come in and do a session with me.
Right.
And one of the things I would make crystal clear to them is that I have never been desperate for sermon material whereby I need your life to be a sermon for me come Sunday. So you're not going to hear this coming up. You're going to hear me preaching. You're not going to hear this coming up and all that type of thing. But it's amazing how many things that you would have to kind of de-escalate in order to get that environment there where they can go ahead and just kind of feel liberated to deal with stuff.
Right. Seeking support makes you wise, not weak.
Mm-hmm.
It is very important. I've had people, I take confidentiality very seriously, like my husband does. And there are people that I've given counsel to over the years of counsel, and they'll say, well, what did pastor say? And I'm like, what do you mean? What did pastor say?
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that. We have this counseling session here. I don't go home and tell pastor what took place in the counseling session. He doesn't come home and tell me what. We don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
We take this very seriously. We take this mantle very seriously.
And we also don't let people play musical counselors either.
No, we don't do that.
If somebody comes to meet with Pastor Nicholson, I won't meet with them. And it's not because I don't want to, but it's just the fact that if he's been with me so long, I know what kind of counsel he's going to give. I know what kind of counsel you're going to give. I know what kind of counsel the other people on staff are going to give. So for you to want to come out of those sessions with them and then come talk to me, that means that he's not saying what you want him to say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Erica says this, and I know Erica, she's a very strong Christian. She says, therapy was my lifeline during postpartum depression. I had no idea what it was, and grateful that my mom saw I needed help and helped me get it.
Yeah.
It's the pressures of, trying to even balance your life can really be difficult. There are seasons in life where, yes, you can get it all done. And there are seasons in life where you feel like I'm failing at everything. You need to know when I need to talk about this.
Yeah.
You tell us all the time, there are some things that need to be taken off our plate. There are some people you don't know what to take off your plate. Right. That's where you seek the support to find out, okay, I have a lot going on. I need to take something off, but I don't even know what to take off.
Exactly. And it's just really important. And it's also important that if you are married, that you got a spouse that has some kind of level of sensitivity towards when you're at a place that may not be as healthy and feels like you have provided a platform where they can come alongside and be able to say, hey, I really think you need to talk to somebody right now, or we need to talk to somebody.
You always told me that you don't want to have to read my mind.
Yeah, I have said that. I mean, I've said that a lot when we first got married.
Okay, if something's going on with you, I need to, know that something. And then the sad part is that a lot of times, especially as women, we may feel like, well, my husband has enough going on. I don't want to put nothing else on his plate or bother him with nothing else. And the husband, no, I know you're not yourself.
Right.
I know something is going on with her.
Exactly.
So the husband is waiting. I'm waiting for her to come and tell me what's going on. And she's on the other side saying, well, I don't want to put nothing else on him. And it doesn't get resolved.
Right. So she's mad now because you didn't come and ask her was something wrong, or vice versa. He's mad because you won't, it's just so many different things. But I think that is what you have to understand is that when you know there's help that's needed, but you're refusing to do it for whatever reason, you're putting your entire family and your household on pause. Yes. You're ceasing that home from being able to move forward, and now it's stuck in neutral. And until you do that, it's going to stay that way.
Yeah. Rondre says, if therapists need therapists, so do you.
That's a good point right there.
Yes. And that is definitely, and then you can't dictate how long it's going to take. I've seen people like dissect psychiatry. I'm like, how are you going to dissect the Well, I don't like what they said. Right. Give them time. Like, you went to one session and you didn't like what they said in the first session. Give it some time. Give them the opportunity to do their job. Yeah. Or you go one time and you don't go back thinking you were fixed after one,
or he was on the husband's side, or he was on the wife's side, and that kind of thing. And I've told people before, listen, I don't have to go home with either one of you. So I really don't have a dog in the fight. And the only side I'm on is on a side that desires to see you both reach God's potential for your life, period. That's the only side that I got in this thing.
And you've also had to tell people when they need more than you.
Oh, absolutely. 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 And not in a bad way, and not like making them feel bad about it. But I know this stuff enough to know when something is beyond me. Listen, man, I really want to be here for you, but I think you need that second level now.
Yes.
I think that second level there is now someone that this is what they do for a living and that they can be available a lot more than I can be.
Yes.
And that's one of the ways that I try to explain it to people.
We have recommended, different places that offer free therapy to say, hey, this organization offers free sessions. We would encourage you to pursue, further to continue to build the process.
Right.
And don't you think that sometimes I just think we want a quick fix for everything.
Yeah, I just think we have to pump the brakes and realize that most things that come with quick fixes aren't really fixed. They're patched.
Right.
So you have to be willing to understand that it's going to take time to fix some things.
It is. If you have a damaged relationship with your children, that didn't happen overnight.
Right.
But you want it fixed overnight.
Exactly.
It's going to take work, and they may not want to be a part of therapy at first, but you go get the help.
Because even if you got a spouse and they don't want to go get therapy or whatever, and yet you see that the need is there, you go get it.
Yes.
Because the only person that you can control in any relationship is you. That's it.
That's good.
And so when you recognize, okay, he doesn't want it or she doesn't want it, but I know where I am. I don't want to click. I don't want to go off. I don't want to explode. I don't want to have some kind of meltdown that really affects things negatively for a long time. Let me go get what I need while I'm trying to navigate through this.
Yeah. Keitha says this, Keitha Fry, she and her husband attend the church, and her mom and kids. Listen, I have no shame in saying that counseling saved our marriage. Pastor Nicholson got our little young inexperienced tails together. She said he put us right in check. Now they've been married 16 years, May 28th.
That's awesome. He went New York style.
He did.
Y'all know him from New York. And he looks unassuming now. I'm going to tell you, he looks unassuming. But when he needs to put his foot down, he goes in.
Right. So when we recommend counselors in the church, we truly say that because we see the potential in your relationship. But we know that it's going to take work for both parties. Both parties.
And you know what I've actually told people before? When they were like, when they came in and then we started dealing with the subject, well, I would say something that was true of the situation. And the person immediately got mad. Their reaction was to get mad. And I can see it because their content has changed. And I've had to tell people this many, many times. Listen, let's just hold up. Now, y'all came to me. I didn't come to you.
Right.
And now I gave you what you know is true, and you're even confirming it by the attitude that you're choosing to have. So now, if this is the route you want to go, then maybe we don't need to do this session, or you can just dig your heels in and be willing to push through this so we can get to some kind of finality with the situation.
Yeah. We're good as couples at times to get before you get married, you get your premarital counseling, and then you don't go in for a checkup.
Right.
You don't get any checkups. So you hit these different glitches at 5 years and 10 years. The first 5 years can be the hardest years.
Yeah.
And so many people give up those first 5 years thinking they made a mistake.
Yeah.
And no, you didn't make a mistake. It's learning.
Yeah. And a lot of times you didn't make a mistake, but you just weren't ready for the reality of what it is. And when I say that, I don't mean that it has to be negative. It's just that you're taking two different people from two different backgrounds that have done two different things differently their entire life. And you're bringing that together and say, okay, the two shall become one. I saw a post that you put out and you said that the two becoming one, that's not an immediate process. That's something that takes place over time. And some people almost like get shocked when they realize, okay, this isn't overnight.
Right. It doesn't happen at the altar. It is a process of working together, communicating together, compromise, being patient with one another. And then you add children in the mix if you have children. Or if you're a blended family, the children come, right away. Maybe your second marriage or your first time you both have children. There are a lot of different components. There's no manual script that tells you how to be a successful family.
Exactly.
You can read all the books in the world, but still implementing the process.
Yeah, there's got to be application.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's challenging sometimes. Let's look at a couple of other things that we saw that kind of jumped out to us. One of the things that you talked about in one of your sessions was parenting with purpose. When you think of that statement, parenting with purpose, what does that say to you? What does that mean to you as a parent?
You have to be intentional about your parenting. I say it all the time that parenting never expires. They don't age out. As long as you're alive and they're alive, you're still their parent.
Yeah, your approach is just different, depending upon the age, but it's always there.
Yes, and you have to evolve with it, and you have to be patient as they develop and mature in the different areas of their life.
Absolutely.
And you have to have a vision for your parenting. You have to have a plan for your parenting. You know, we plan for these children. We plan to have children, many of us. And then it's like after they reach a certain age, you stop with the planning. You want them to know their ABCs. You want them to be able to walk and talk, to ride a bike, you drive a car. So you have these different goals. And then all of a sudden you stop.
Yeah.
Like you said, this you putting the preparation in for Johnny to get his license, all the work you had and support you put in with him to help him get his license. Yeah. We need to put the same support in helping them understand how to date correctly.
Exactly. And then, you know, another thing that you can do too, and you don't have to put all your business out there, but I think that you do need to have a little bit of transparency as to when you were dating and being able to make that connect with them. Listen, one of the reasons why I'm pretty adamant about this is because of this. Now, and this is how I learned that this is not the type of person that I need, or this is what I need for my life, that type of thing. Because then when they can see it, they're seeing you put feet on it. Now it means something to them. Yes. Now it hits home with them. Yes. And they ponder that thing a little bit more, and they're able to move their life forward.
And Johnny has told us that helps. You know, having those real conversations with him has really been beneficial for him, and it will be beneficial for you. Maybe you don't have children, but you're very involved in the lives of your nieces and nephews. You know, you really spend a lot of time with them. Make sure you talk to them a lot. Have a lot of conversations. Be that safe person for them to be able to talk to. You know, Johnny has more than us in his life. He has other people we've surrounded him with or connected him with, so that he can have, you know, those important conversations with them. He always doesn't have to come to you and I.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's able to get those things off his chest. He's able to talk with people because he has a bucket full of resources.
He does.
And depending upon what his need is, he pulls on that resources. Now, we don't feel like we're inadequate as parents because there's a resource he pulls in there that may not be us all the time. No, we're glad for that because we know that it takes more than just one. He needs to see the life of a lot of people to know how to figure out his own life.
He does. And I appreciate the help with all our children. I get to the point like, you know, I'll reach out and say, hey, I need you to reach out and talk to him about this. Like, I'm not even going to talk to him about this. I'll let you talk to him about this. Or I'll say, honey, you handle this. You'll tell me to handle something. I'll reach out to one of my brothers. Hey, I need you to talk to your nephew about this. Those types of things. I feel like that's important.
I think it's critically important because every positive role model they have in their life can play a role in their life. I mean, you look at my relationship with my middle school football coach, Coach Arnold. He's now 83, maybe. Okay. And I'm still in his life. You know, I still go visit them and call them and talk to them and everything else because of that kind of role that he was able to have in my life when I was growing up in middle school and high school.
Why do you think that is?
I just think that they cared about me beyond the football field, and that was huge for me.
That's good.
You know, you're in the papers all the time. You're doing that result. All those are wonderful things because it means that you're doing great things on the field or on the track. So all those things are wonderful. But beyond all of that, I could go over there and just be myself.
And they're a Caucasian family.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what was it about their family that even attracted you to their family? Because outside of him being a good coach, what else is it?
Really, it was a lot beyond just being a good coach. Is that knowing how they genuinely cared about me outside of athletics, and sometimes when things got rough at home, I could have an outlet, and an outlet didn't have to mean that I go over there talking about everything that just happened at home, but it means I can go over there and just relax and watch this game with him.
So as a family, they had that type of environment where you felt like you could relax over there.
I felt like I could relax over there. Sometimes I would stay overnight over there during the week and then go to school the next morning from there. And from time to time, I would do that. And so I'm thankful for that because what that means is not that my parents are inadequate. What it means is that God has a way of supplying what you need. In and outside of your family.
Yes. Do you hear that? That God has a way of supplying what you need inside and outside the family. So don't get intimidated or feel inferior if your child, talks about a coach that they really like, and the coaches share words of wisdom. That's important. They need those things.
And they have relatives that will come over their house from time to time. And I got a chance to meet some of those. And one of those was a gentleman that's a physical therapist. And he did that for his whole life, his whole career, and made an incredible living for himself, took good care of his family. And he was sitting out with us sometime with their son, Mike, and I, and just talk while we're playing cards and that kind of thing. He would talk to me about little things that to this day, he doesn't know I implement some of those things to this day that I just heard from him just in conversation.
Yes, Judah has a village. Lord have mercy, hallelujah.
She has a country.
She needs it. And there's each person in her village gives her something different. And she needs that. She desires that. You grew up with a big family. I grew up with a big family. Okay. But here we are. None of our family lives here in the city.
Right.
So it was important. We could see that she loves that concept of big family. So between our church family, her close friends at school, Pastor, we don't trust everybody now. We don't let her go everywhere, do everything with everybody. But there are certain people we trust. One of her closest friends at school, she asked me to do something with a friend. Well, I'm friends with the mother. And so I was like, I trust the mother. So that's why I allowed her to go and spend time with them, because we have the same family values, the same structure in place, but she needed that time.
Exactly.
Away from us. So even Jeremiah gets that
and we
time.
needed her to need that time away from us.
Jeremiah gets that time. He built that relationship with Carson, and Carson knew how to take care of him and support him. And Jeremiah started to mature because we allowed him to. We expanded his village. And
all those things are important. Those things are not a sign that you're an inadequate parent. Those things are a sign that you're a wise one, because you recognize that your kids sometimes need more than just you, and you're smart enough to supply it for them.
Yes. And I hope that as a Christian, that many of you, I think this is important too. Some people just worry about themselves and their family. And there's someone that needs them. They could mentor somebody.
Exactly.
They could be that extension for somebody. They could be, never take for granted if your child has this friend, and this friend loves coming over to your house, loves eating with your family. Just think if the Arnolds would have shut the door on you and didn't want you around. How your life could have been different.
And I remember he's up there in age, and I remember I came home to preach at a church of a friend of mine's, and he was 80 years old at the time, had shingles, and you could tell when the pain would hit his body, because he drove all the way over there to hear me at this church. And whenever the pain would shoot through his body from the shingles, you would see him flinch like that real quick. But he was there with his Bible in hand, wanting to hear me. I mean, that's huge. Sometimes other people can provide what your family chose not to.
Yes. So let them. Look, Tony said, leave my little sister alone.
I saw that up there. I was ignoring that, Tony.
Jesus, she calls her Sissy. And we let her, she has nicknames for her village. She gives everybody their names, and and we let her have that. And I always wanted to, I think even the way I grew up, my brothers always had that, families that they were close to. And we didn't take that. I didn't take that as it was something wrong with our family. Our family was different, like other families. But if they had a safe place to go and to eat, and if there was, certain families that would make sure we got to our games and make sure we got, to help my mom when she went through that period of being a single parent. We needed help we needed help. She couldn't do it with 4 kids by herself. Right.
I mean, that's a big task right there.
Definitely.
And so, there's going to be adjustments. There's going to be, and guess what? There's going to be hits and there's going to be misses. During those times too. So if you have that calm environment, and if there's a child or that love being in your calm environment, that's a blessing. Exactly.
That is truly a blessing, that they want to be in your home in that environment, because you have that peace that they need. And you may say, well, I don't like them hanging with that child. That child has a bad mouth. Well, you may be the person that helps change that child.
Right.
Because that child knows I can't use profanity in Miss Johnson's house.
Exactly.
I can't do that in Miss Johnson's house.
Exactly.
And they will remember that as they mature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I hope you all were blessed today. We just wanted to kind of flow with us Friday and hit some subject and just talk about some things that really jumped out to us from the conference. Also, want you guys to know that you can drop subjects in the thread, or there's some things that you want to see that could really benefit you and your family where you are right now that you'd love to see us be able to cover a little bit from time to time. Let us know. Drop it in the thread. We'll take note of that, and we'll make that a part of what we put together every week.
It was great to have you on our Flow With It Friday. We just talked about different topics, kind of centered it around the recent conference. And we just wanted to be able to share with you some highlights that we received. And we ended up having some different conversations. We talked about, mental health, the importance of getting the support and therapy that you need. It was a great conversation today. Great conversation.
And I want to encourage everyone that registered for the conference is to continue to take advantage of the teaching and go back. If there are some sessions that you didn't get a chance to watch, go back and watch those. I guarantee you it's going to help you in some type of way. And maybe you might say, well, it may not help me directly, but guess what? It may give you the tools to be able to help somebody else. So go back and check out those learning labs. You have 30 days access after the conference. So I think you got a couple of weeks left.
Yes.
And I know it will be a blessing to you. As always, we appreciate you guys. Want to encourage you to not just receive from the ministry, but also support the ministry. And you have the number up there. You can text the word give to 844-972-3594. And we just appreciate whatever you do to help us continue to do what we do.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us for the Family Room today. We know that May 1st is tomorrow, right around the corner. Next weekend is Mother's Day weekend, so we may focus a little bit on motherhood on next week, but we look forward to it. Pastor Ramsey's going to be celebrating a birthday soon. We're going to talk to you about his awesome milestone that is coming up. So May is full of some great things coming up. Also, our son graduates from college.
Yes, he graduates on my birthday, May the 8th. That's huge.
So that is next Saturday. So we're really excited about some things that we have coming up, and we'd like to share those things with you in the Family Room.
Absolutely. You all be blessed. Let me pray for you, and we're going to close out. Have a great weekend. Stay connected. Listen, we need you in the pews on Sunday, and those that aren't in the pew, we need you on the thread, and we need you connected throughout the course of the service. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for our time together. We know that you're an amazing God, and you have a way of giving us right what we need at the exact moment that we need it. So I pray some things have been said today that are strengthening someone's faith, that's encouraging their life, that's building their relationship, that's making them that much closer to the destiny that you want to bring them into. And I pray that you bless this weekend, all that it brings. Bless those that give and support the ministry as well. And bless those that desire to, but just for whatever reason are unable to, as we trust you for great and mighty things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
And amen. Be blessed, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good week.